Hey, this video is going to be a quick introduction to a type 1 type of statistical error. There are two types. This video is going to be the first type. Now, a lot of you probably think of type 1 error and realize it has to do with this sign, alpha or A, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. However, in basic terms, what is a type 1 error? A type 1 error is also known as a false positive error. Now, in statistical language, this means that you mistakenly accepted the alternative hypothesis and rejected the null hypothesis. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, let's go back to what I just said, that it's a false positive. What is a false positive? As we talked about in our other videos here on biostats, false positive means that we had a positive test result, right? It means that we saw something there, but it wasn't actually there. So you took home a urine pregnancy test, it said, hey, you're pregnant, but then you realize later on that you're not actually pregnant. So the test was positive, but it was false. That's what a type 1 error is. It means that you saw something in the data, or somebody saw something in the data that wasn't actually there, which led you to make a false conclusion. So a good example would be like, you did a study that thought that, it concluded that if you woke up at 6 a.m., you were less likely to be obese. However, if you later learn that there was a type 1 error, that means that there's actually no correlation between waking up at 6 a.m. and being less obese, or whatever the example is. You follow me. Now, the big thing is that what we really do is alpha, or this A sign, is a probability of making this type 1 error, the probability of having a false positive with your test. And a lot of times we have this. You might recognize it better if we say P is less than 0.05, right? Less than 5%, what have you. That's because in statistics, we judge our p-value as opposed to, in relation to an acceptable amount of type 1 error, to an acceptable amount of alpha. So we say that alpha, there's a 5% chance that what we're talking about is a false positive. And so if your p-value is less than that, that means that there's less than a 5% chance that this is a false positive. So that's why, to bring this back home, and if you really don't care about the biostats, then just listen to this. When you hear a study and someone says this is statistically significant because its p-value is less than 0.05, what they're really trying to say with all that is there's a really good chance this isn't a false positive. There's a really good chance this is actually a significant result. That's what they're trying to say here. Now let's talk about boards, because you're going to forget everything that I just said tomorrow. So for boards, how are you going to remember what's type 1 error, what's type 2 error, all that kind of stuff? Let's go back to this A, or alpha. Now there's a mnemonic that a lot of people use, and that is you saw something. And now why is it saw? Because saw has that A. For whatever reason, that sticks in people's minds. You saw something that wasn't there. So when you say, what's type 1 error, you saw something that wasn't there. So in the prompt on the boards question, it's going to be something like, you did this study and you concluded that waking up at 6 a.m. makes you less obese. However, you now realize that conclusion is, false. What type of statistical error is this? And it's going to be like, there's going to be a couple misleading ones. It's going to, like number A is going to, or choice A will be something like, specificity, or something really wrong. And then choice B will be something that's like type 2 error, which we talked about in a different video here at Med School Made Easy. However, choice 3 will be type 1 error. So you really need to remember that alpha, or A, comes before B, just like type 1 comes before type 2, and you saw something. You thought that there was a statistically significant result about waking up earlier and being less obese. It's kind of redundant. Hopefully I've nailed home what's important about type 1 error, especially for boards. Thanks, y'all.